In baseball parlance, you would call him a great baseball man, and that is meant with all sincerity and everything that would come along with that.
Well, and I'll tell you this much. I've had several messaging conversations with Sarah Olson, and her battle with ALS has, you hate to say it, but she has brought so much more awareness to it. The ALS bath, ice bath thing brought a lot of awareness. Joel, Jeff, all the guys have taken her on, and she's getting treatments that have never been really used before. She's on lists for that. So hopefully someday we have a cure for ALS, but Lou Gehrig's disease goes back a long ways.
ALS has impacted sports in Kansas City. George Brett had a very good friend named Keith Worthington, who George committed to always fighting in that battle with ALS. And then Joe McGuff, who was the editor of the Star at one point, but certainly sports editor and sports columnist for many years. That was important in Royals history and baseball history in Kansas City. He passed away from ALS. So there's been several encounters in sports. Tom Watson's caddy through most of his great years, as one of the great golfers in the world, suffered from ALS. So ALS has really sort of touched the Kansas City sports community over the years.
It has, and with her battle, and I'm glad that Ned Yost and the Royals have supported her and been there for her, throughout this deal. And it's not easy, but she's fighting, and all good thoughts and prayers with her.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So, transition, talk a little bit, more about the Hall of Fame, but what was, I guess, it's probably hard for you to have a favorite exhibit or thing in the Hall of Fame, but, it's definitely one thing. If I have a friend coming to town that's a baseball fan, I'm like, you gotta go to the K, you gotta go to the Hall of Fame, you gotta go to the Negro League Baseball Museum.
Yeah.
So what's something in the Royals Hall of Fame, I guess, in your opinion, that's a can't miss?
That's a can't miss? Well, there's a lot. First of all, the World Series trophies, of course. That's the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ultimate goal, and we're fortunate enough to have two of them. And there have only been two. This is geeky stuff, but before 1967, there was no such thing as a World Series trophy. The World Series trophy was born at that particular time. And since that time, there's been two versions of it. From 67 to 99 was one version, and then starting in 2000 till now, there's been a second version of the World Series trophy, and we're fortunate we have one of both.
Yeah.
So you can get the full history of the World Series trophy with our two trophies. So I would say you start there. As I was mentioning earlier, from my perspective, the if you're inside the Royals Hall of Fame, you should go by the Royals Baseball Academy exhibit, because I think that's an important story. Not only it's a very Kansas City specific story, but also a baseball story, a Kansas City contribution to baseball. So that one's important to me. And then from an artifact perspective, this comes and goes. It's like the more new stuff you get, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one that we got just last week that I find fascinating anyway, and it's up on display now. I tried to get it up as quickly as we could. So Dick Hauser's career, everybody knows him as the Royals manager and a Royals Hall of Fame manager, last to the World Series, and number 10's retired, and all that sort of thing. But his major league career began as a player in Kansas City.
Oh, wow.
So in 1961, he made his major league debut as the opening day shortstop for the Kansas City Athletics in Boston at Fenway Park, and they won that game, and then he would be on the American League All-Star team in his rookie season. And then that was 1961, and he played here from 61 to 63, and then he became major league coach, I think it was in 68, and then with the Yankees for years. And he spent 1 year as the head coach at Florida State University, which is his alma mater, which is a whole different part of his life and fascinating. And and then was manager of the Yankees, who we beat him in his rookie season as a big league manager in 1980. And then less than a year later, he was managing the Royals and would lead us to the playoffs in that 81 weird strike-shortened season, and then on to the playoffs in 84 and a World Series title in 85. Well, we have a lot of stuff from, or at least some things from Dick's time with the Royals, but we didn't have anything from his time with the A's. And as it turns out, his brother Larry and sister Joyce got a hold of us and said, we have Dick's 1961 Kansas City Athletics uniform, and we would like to give it to you, to the Royals Hall of Fame.
Sure.
Wow. So, and they live sort of in the Atlanta area. They came up for the Atlanta series, and on Tuesday night of last week, that first game of that series, they presented it to Ned. They wanted to present it to Ned, which made perfect sense, and then went into the Royals Hall of Fame. So now we have 1961, the first uniform Dick Howser ever wore in Kansas City.
Wow, that's
as the opening day shortstop for the Kansas City Athletics in 1961. So for me, that one's really cool because it ties in so many.
Yeah.
It ties in, a half a century almost of Kansas City baseball history in that way. So. That's one of my favorites.
I'm gonna have to get back out there,
That's
to
a
see
new
that.
one. See,
yeah.
it's like you take
cool.
on new stuff, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, before I got married almost 2 years ago, but my wife and I, we actually did our engagement photo shoot at Kauffman.
Yes.
Paid, I don't remember what the fee was, whatever, and we drove around on a golf cart and got to go, on the field, not on the grass, but on the dirt track, before, and in the dugout and in the Hall of Fame and all around, and got pictures taken everywhere, in different parts of the stadium. And I mean, it was one of the coolest things I've ever done. I mean, we're both big sports fans, and it was just a lot of fun. And so we still have, those engagement pictures, and we had personalized Royals jerseys made that said bride and groom, and all that fun stuff. But
you too can do that, because that is we do offer that sort of opportunity to be able to do that at the ballpark.
It was so cool
for several special occasions, engagement or senior pictures or all those sorts of things, to be able to do that and come out to the ballpark and get pictures taken in a special place.
One of your favorite days is whenever the school buses arrive, right?
It's a cool.
One of your favorite days is when the school buses arrive.
Oh, absolutely. We have the RSVP program, and it brings in kids to the ballpark for basically a field trip of the ballpark, but also teaching different subjects through baseball. So science and grammar and math, and teaching that through baseball, and pair that up with a tour of the ballpark. So that's going on year round, and so yes, it's always great when you go to the ballpark. And there was a group there today, and there's usually young people there at the ballpark almost every single day, and it's always good to see them, hear all the noise.
So I'm going to throw in a personal plug. Any teachers out there listening that want your class to go on that field trip, I'm a certified teacher, so I can come sub for you on that day. On that day where you're going to go tour the K and get to see all that cool stuff, I'll bite that bullet and I'll go for you, because I am a huge Royals fan, and so I'll go tour the K every day.
Making sacrifices, man. You're making sacrifices right there, man.
I know. So there's a ton of opportunities at the K, obviously. If you're in Kansas City and you have not taken the time to go since the renovations have happened, first, shame on you. But secondly, go out there, do a tour, make plans right now to go to a ball game next spring or summer. I mean, I remember, like you said earlier, Austin, the first time I went after the renovations, I remember I took my daughters, who were super young at the time. But, you got all the stuff for the kids now in the outfield plaza. And, I mean, because it's very unlikely that a 2-year-old is going to sit and watch a whole baseball game. I mean, it's just unlikely. If you know a 2-year-old, they're probably not going to sit still that long. So it's awesome that you have that stuff out there, so you can take the family and do all those things. And you got the Royals Hall of Fame. And, I mean, it's just, if you haven't been, you got to go check it out.
Well, I've got to say one more thing about Curt Nelson. Curt, you and I go back to birth. I mean, our families go back a long ways, but I know you as a person. I know you the heart and soul you put into the Royals and the history of the Royals. You've been there 21 of the 51 years, all but 30. Someday when Curt is gone, he will be remembered almost as big as you and Kaufman. I'm not joking when I say this. He has put a lot of his life into. It's your baby. You're not married. You don't have any kids.
It is.
It's his baby. So
it really
you
is.
guys got to really appreciate what Curt has done for the Royals before he got into the Hall of Fame in the marketing department. Once he started, I couldn't imagine building a Hall of Fame. I couldn't imagine it. You got to do it.
There's a lot of great story there, so it's and some of it's stuff people don't know, and that that's sort of the idea. Even in that book, I didn't title the book because the title sounds more like a challenge, and really in the introduction of the book, I try to write it's not really a challenge. It's more of an invitation. More of an invitation to go through there and find out, if you're really a Royals geek, and I say that with the most affection because I'm the king of the geeks, is that you can relive and maybe get a little bit more detail in some of the stories. And then if you're a Royals fan but you don't necessarily know a lot about the history or some of the cool connections and stories along the way, that this is an invitation to just know more about the thing that you're already sort of in love with. So that's what the book is really about. So, and there's a lot of cool, fun stuff. I'm really big into the weird connections, along the way. That's and my favorite one about Witt. And we all know Witt now, but when we first signed Witt, he was a South Carolina Gamecock, and so. The Royals have the longest running AAA connection in Major League Baseball. It goes back 51 years because our AAA team has never been anywhere other than Omaha. And for many years, the home ballpark was Rosenblatt Stadium, which is a famous baseball stadium now, primarily not from its connection to to minor league baseball, although that's true in Omaha and Kansas City, but its connection to college baseball, because since the early 50s, it was the Omaha's been home of the College World Series, and for decades it was the Rosenblatt Stadium was where you wanted to go. So over that time, and the last College World Series ever at Rosenblatt Stadium was the one that South Carolina and Whit Merrifield won. And not only that, they won in walk-off fashion against UCLA to win the title. Not only that, the guy that got the walk-off hit was Whit Merrifield. So he got the last hit ever in the College World Series at Rosenblatt Stadium, which already had a tie to the Royals, though at that time he didn't have a tie to the Royals. But it seems that it's another one of the baseball gods things. It's like, so that ballpark has such a connection to Kansas City baseball and Kansas City Royals baseball that it would seem fitting that the guy that got the last hit in the College World Series that would win a championship would eventually play here in Kansas City for the Royals. So that's one of those weird connection stories. It's like, how did
funny
that
how all
happen?
that stuff kind of comes
How did that
around.
happen? But it seems like it was destined to happen.
Yeah. So if I want to buy this book, where can I get it?
All the places that you normally get books. You can get it out at the ballpark at the team store, which is a good place to get it. And then it's available on Amazon and things like that online as well, so you can get it there. But if you're in town, stop by the ballpark, stop by the team store. They're still open in the off season, always open in the off season. Running some sales almost always during the off season, especially we're not all that far. We are in October now, gentlemen, so we're not all that far from the holiday season, and all things will be happening at all stores, including the team store at Coffin Stadium.
Yeah,
cool.
Not that I really wanted a Royals stuff tonight, but obviously I had to pay my bet off. So
that's
I wore Royal stuff.
Honestly, the off season is not that I don't go, when I am at a game, but the off season is my favorite time to go in the team store because I feel like I get the best deals.
You might get you might get a good deal. Always searching for a good deal.
Yeah, I'm not a rich man. Jim doesn't pay us very much to do this, so we gotta save our pennies. But so the book is So You Think You're a Kansas City Royals Fan, by our guest tonight, Curt Nelson. It was kind of a nice benefit because